Hello, my friends. Well, a little while back, I got a question from a subscriber or viewer that said, if there's anything in your van you would change, what would it be? What would you do differently? And I thought it was a pretty good question. And there are a couple things. A minor one, I would say, is that I would make sure that I built everything with a mind of decreasing the chances of mold. How I built my van is I put the insulation in, and then I put these wooden strips. I use that. Okay, here the rib of the van would be like vertical, and then I'd use a little piece of steel bracket thing I get from Home Depot, and I put like 4 or 8 of them down the side, and then I'd get a 1-inch strip of plywood, like a 1/2 inch by 1 inch, and I'd put it over, so there'd be like the rib would be like this, the bars would be like this, and they'd be holding the plywood like this. So then I can put the pine, the tongue and groove pine, along it, screwing into the wood, and now it'd allow me to be fully insulated because there would be no gap. Everything's covered in polystyrene. Problem is, there is potential for mold on that plywood, and I found some. I don't know if I ever made a video about that or not. I don't recall if I posted it. Well, that was weird. My phone shut off. I think it overheated and it wouldn't allow me to use the camera. Galaxy Note 4, what's going on? Anyways, so basically what happened was I had this gap along the floor, 1/2 inch gap, and my idea was that the condensation would drip down, if there was any, and then it would evaporate. Well, I was wrong. Ended up getting moldy along the floor there. So, if I was going to change anything, I would, I guess I wouldn't put that gap there. I guess I would stop that problem. I don't know. But the moisture's going somewhere, so maybe I didn't insulate well enough. But I did insulate. It was like 2 inches of polystyrene. So I know that you need to keep the polystyrene or the insulation right against the metal of the sheet metal of the wall. So, but I would also definitely, in fact, what I'm probably going to do this summer is I'm going to take that tongue and groove part off the wall on the side, and I'm going to replace that strips of plywood with vinyl. It's like these vinyl white strips you can get. They're like 5/8. Don't really like using that because it's not good for the environment. I like to use natural materials whenever possible. But at the same time, I can't live in a moldy van, and in this area, it's humidity is so high, like it's often above 85%, 90%. So it's a big problem here. So that's one thing I would change. Another thing I would do, and some of you guys are gonna give me the eye roll and say, "We told you so," but I would probably get a high top fan. In the past, I've made videos about the advantages of a low top fan and why I chose to go with a low top fan, and I think the reasons are still valid. Basically, a low top fan is easier to heat and cool because there's less volume. Especially important for me is the heating part of it. And it's cheaper on gas because you're not pushing this huge monstrosity along the highway or the road or whatever. So low top is going to be a bit cheaper on gas. Overall, it comes down to money. But as things are going along, I mean, I tried the wooden floor of the office chair, and that works okay. Problem is, oftentimes the wooden chair rolls into my door here, and then I can't open the door because the chair is wedged in the way. So I've tried to fix that by putting a clip on the bar of the chair and then clipping the chair onto the wall so it can't move towards the door. But half the time I forget, so I need to get better at doing that. But suffice it to say, the office chair on a hard floor is not ideal, um, in that sense that it's just not as ideal as having high top for comfort. A high top is the best thing. You can have like a little mini apartment, and yes, it's going to cost more money to heat. You're going to use BTUs you need to keep that space is going to be higher. But to be honest, I have the money, so spend it. You know, be comfortable, get the high top, blah blah blah. So eventually, I think I will get a high top. I don't know when. Could be 2 years, could be 5 years, could be 10 years. But you know, I'm agile enough, and you know, I'm only 46. I can move around fine. I'm fine. It's just a little of an annoying thing. So in the future, I would get a high top, and if I was going to do it again, I probably would have bought a high top instead of this van. Pretty much likely to get the Ford Transit 250 high roof or the ProMaster, but I'm reading a lot of concerns about the reliability of the ProMaster, so I don't know. ProMaster is better in some ways because there's more living space inside to dwell in. It's a better choice because it's wider, so you can have your bed across the back, and in some ways it's better that way. One other thing I would consider making a change in the future is to add more batteries and more solar, um, which I may do. Maybe 300 watts of solar and four 6-volt batteries instead of two. And the reason I say that is because, as I've said in the previous videos, the most important thing to me is heat. And I like to have different options. The Wave 3 is awesome. I love it. But I would also like to get like the Aspar Webasto style. Problem is that if you want a fridge and to have that heater running with a fan and everything, it's going to use a lot of battery power. And I would rather not even have to think about it. I'd rather just do it, flip a switch, have a thermostat, and not worry about it. Basically means having more batteries and more solar. So that's another thing I would change in the future, and I may do so. The other advantage of a high top is that you can have the bed higher, and then almost all the stuff I need to store, like my bass gear or music gear, I can stick under the bed because the roof is high, which means the bed can be high, which means I have lots of storage space underneath. And then I could have less floor space, but just as much storage space, if that makes sense. I see a lot of builds like these sprinters and stuff where they have the bed at the back, but the people are sleeping like head to foot that way, like the feet towards the driving area instead of cross. And that's an interesting scenario because make the bed big, more comfortable the better, and I think that's pretty wise. The only thing is, as I'm getting older, I want to be safe, and I don't want to be making some ladder or some clumsy way of getting onto like a bed that's 3.5 feet off the ground. I don't want that, so I have to make it in a way or have some steps or something. Anyways, guys, just thought I'd share that question about if I could do things differently, what would I do? And those are some ideas. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a proper Q&A. Thanks for watching, and be well, my friends.